Welcome to Module 14. Learn to listen, listen to learn, be present. That's what we're going to talk about in this module. You know, people want to be heard. People want to they want to be heard. They want to have people know that they have said something that's meaningful to them. And that's why I tell people all the time, don't talk about yourself. Learn to be a really good listener. And the old line about learn to listen, and then you listen to learn, and then being present, not being thinking about something else on your mind or going off in some other direction. But the three word phrases I want to really emphasize on this module are these 2 3-word phrases. Tell me more is one of them. And the second one is, and then what? If you want to have a good conversation with somebody, constantly say when they have a break in the conversation, tell me more. They'll keep telling you. Or if they say that happened, and then you say, and then what? And that'll keep the conversation going. Do not, under any circumstances, interject yourself into the conversation or insert yourself there. We're not talking about you. We're talking about them. And I've had people say to me before, well, wait a second. How come I don't ever, you get to talk, but wait until they're done. I joke about the fact that people come up and you're talking and then you have a third person enter. This has happened to me a million times at a party. I'm talking to somebody, a third person comes in. Oh, hi, Bob. I was just telling Sally here and she was telling us about her trip to Hawaii. 9 times out of 10, you know what the person that just enters the conversation says? Well, that's funny. I was in Hawaii last month and we did a bunch of stuff and we went surfing and I've had to stop people and go, hang on just a second. Hey, Bob, we're not talking about you, okay? We're talking about Sally here. Okay, that's who we were talking about. So let's let Sally finish talking about her trip to Hawaii, and then you can tell us what you're talking about. We talked about the golden rule, and that's all about treating people as you would have them treat you. Do not insert yourself into the conversation. Wait until the end. There will be time at the end. It's so, so important. And so a couple other things besides tell me more and then what is, you can use affirmations like, so if I understand you correctly, so if I hear what you're saying, things like this, clarifying questions that make a big difference. And, you know, people will be listening to you, they'll go, which is basically shorthand for, I wish you'd be quiet so I could talk more about me. So, but you can also notice how good of a listener somebody is. You can notice if they aren't able to ask the next question unless they've heard what you said. So if I'm talking to my friend, he goes, well, my youngest daughter is going to go to Dartmouth College. If I then ask the next question, oh, really? So where is Dartmouth College anyway? Well, how could I ask that question unless I wasn't listening, unless I was not listening to what he was saying? I couldn't have asked that unless I heard very carefully what he was saying. But so important. Listening is so important. I think that more and more people are understanding the power of listening. I think it was Larry King said something about when he retired about the biggest thing he learned is you can't learn anything when you're talking. And you can ask questions and then ask follow-up questions and so forth. And then another thing that I'll kid people about sometimes too is don't say something and provide your own laugh track. Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, we went to the barn and it was, and I go, stop it. Do not, let the person laugh. They're going to laugh fine, but don't provide your own laugh track too. And so I think as I look back on some experiences in my life, I remember I went to a counselor after my wife Dana passed away, and I was in a support group, and I mentioned that earlier. But I remember this one counselor, and she'd say, oh, David, how are you doing? And so I would talk for 5 minutes. She never said a word. And I'd say, and I was just doing terrible. And I've had a really tough week, and it's been really hard and all that kind of thing. And when I was done, she looks at me and she goes, I'm sure that's very difficult. That's it? That's all you're going to say? Yeah, it's difficult. She didn't feel the need to interrupt me or to go into a big difference. She just acknowledged. She says, I'm sure what you're going through is difficult. And it's funny, not only did I mention Larry King, you can never learn anything when you're talking. Johnny Carson was on the TV and the Tonight Show for 30 years. And if you ever watch those old reruns, he never talked about himself. He always asked the people the questions, and he'd done all sorts of crazy things in his life, been very successful as an entertainer and different things, but he never felt the need to talk about himself, and he kept asking his guest more and more questions. And it's just so important. You know, there's a great line about the 2 people that get on a plane in LA and they fly to New York, and one guy talks the whole way for 6 hours nonstop. So they get off the plane and the 2 wives meet these 2 guys, and the guy that talked the whole way, his wife says, how was the flight? She says, I met the nicest guy. Yeah, he met the nicest guy because he listened to the whole time for 6 hours. That's why he was a nicer guy. So, but just take a gratitude tip around listening is use those 2-3 word phrases. Tell me more and then what to keep the conversation going. You will have more friends than you'll know what to do with because they can't believe that you listened to them the entire time. And again, you'll get your chance. But vow, the gratitude tip is vow the next time you're having a conversation with somebody, let them finish. Ask them those words. Don't inject yourself into the conversation. I've had a lot of people that I just sat and listened to for 45 minutes to an hour at a party. The next day I saw a friend that maybe invited me to the party and I said, oh, I met your friend so-and-so. And I never said a word about me. And they said, oh, I sure liked your friend Dave. He was so nice. Yeah, I didn't do anything. I just listened the whole time. So think about that. Become a better listener. You'll be grateful that you did. That's it. We'll see you at Module 15.